Fuck it, here's a summary of my views. First of all, I think that life sucks. That's one fundamental tenet of my thinking, is that life sucks. I follow the philosopher called Carlo Mikestetter, who says that, life is like a weight that hangs from a hook. Because it's a weight, it always wants to go down. Gravity calls it down. And precisely because it's a weight, because it wants to go down, it can never be satisfied. Because insofar as it's a weight, it suspends. And if it suspends, it depends. It depends on the hook. It depends on the hook keeping it steady so that it will not fall. The weight can never be persuaded. It can never complete itself for as long as it lives, for as long as it is weight. He says, life is all one long hard thing, which is exactly what it is. And people try to make excuses for it left, right, and center. They try to put numbers on it, names on it. If I can call it something, I can at least understand it, right? If I put a name to you, then at least I understand you. I know what you are as a name. Even though I really don't understand you. I just think I understand you. Even though I really don't. If I put a number on it, I say 4 rocks, 8, 12. Then I can understand how many rocks there are. Even though in the real world, there is no such thing as a 12. It's just something human beings have made up. And I think it's the same way with things like society. That society is not a real thing, it's an illusion. It's something that you think is a real thing even though it's not. You've been made to believe that it's a real thing. You've been fed the illusion that it's a real thing. Because of course society needs to maintain itself on the delusion that it's real, that it means something to be in society, that you have duties towards society, as if the duties are not just the duties of, individual human beings. Some people made that shit up, and now you have to eat their slop. You have to play by the rules that individuals have set down, pretending that it's somehow objective or real, when it really isn't. That's what you learn from No Longer Human. Does eyes work? He said, society might be an individual. Society is not a real thing. It's just a collection of individuals who think there's something real about society. And that illusion gives you the excuse. All those illusions give you the excuse to fuck with people, to tell them what is right and what is wrong, even though spectacularly, conveniently, what is right and what is wrong always ends up being in the interest of the society. Society has never hung a criminal for something the criminal did they agreed with. Oh yeah, we agree with that, let's hang you. It's very suspicious, right? It's almost as if the whole thing is contingent. It doesn't have any real practical objective necessity. And some of you might say, oh, of course. But you still act as if it was real. And some of you defend it. You say, we need to have society, we need to keep having people around, we need to procreate, we need to do this, we need to do that. But you're never really capable of giving an argument for why this is the case. Why do we need to have this thing around? More people, more society. On a fundamental level, it doesn't accomplish anything. Accomplishes jack shit. But it does hurt a lot of people. And that's the problem. Society hurts. And in society, in the modern day, everything is easier but that much harder. Because, that's another line from Mikael Stetter, because society makes everything a lot easier for you to do, right? You don't have to traverse foreign lands, rough lands like kind of I'm doing right now. You can record yourself, not have to look around, see who's looking at you, see who's gonna attack you or steal your shit. The same way I've left my bag over that way. Who knows, maybe somebody will discover my bag, steal my shit. You know, I just accidentally left my Google Photos open, and you know, the Google Photos is connected to my mother's phone, so she might now see a video I made because a couple of videos because I accidentally left it open, connected to her own phone, and you know, it's a little oversight. I don't want her to see this shit, but that's what technology does. It's very confusing. It makes things easier for you, but also that much harder. It's very difficult to keep your fucking privacy together, because the moment you try, you know, you have one oversight and Google sends all your data to your mother. I mean, you might as well just send my porn history to her. Just package it up and send that shit. Why not? And it's very difficult to not fall into those oversights. Look. Just everything is that much suckier. You're no longer having privacy. You're always anxious about what's going to happen. You know, you missed one of your bill payments. They might turn off your shit. God damn, it's like back in the day you would just start a fucking fire. But now you made yourself dependent on society's grace. Now you become this little bitch without even comprehending it. And some of you will still defend it. You will say, oh, it's good, it's okay, it's nice. Nice for who? Might be nice for you because you're healthy and young, and others on the other hand get fucked in the ass by the very thing that's supposed to protect them. Bullies, rapists, bad teachers, bad doctors, bad parents, bad police, bad wages, no unions, neoliberalism, and on and on and on. Churches. By creating society, the illusion of society, you have also created real victims. That's the paradox. The fake delusion created real victims. And for people like me, who are so-called neurodivergent, things are extra hard. And a neurodivergent person just has to deal with it. There's nothing he can do. You can't just bootstrap yourself out. I mean, look, I have enough money. I don't even have to work right now. Because I happen to get lucky. I made some money on crypto investment. And it's still success. I'm getting that much weaker because I don't have to deal with, you know, all those hardships. I'm suffering in some different way, right? And by making me weaker, I'm that much more dependent and that much more weaker. Pussy. I don't like to be a pussy. That's what I am. And you know what happens to people kids have ADHD, for example, which I might have. You know, I'm fidgeting all the time. I never was diagnosed with ADHD for some reason. It's like, I don't know why it's so fucking hard to diagnose a guy. Took until I was 23 to figure out I was autistic. But anyway, what happens to a kid who has ADHD? Do we accommodate him? Do we say, oh, okay, you have ADHD, that's your way of doing things? No. You wanna run outside, live life like a normal person? No. You have to read this useless, boring book that you're gonna forget anyway. Because school is very backwards, if you think about it. You know, you don't really learn on your own. They feed all that shit into you. Whether you care about it or not care about it, whether it means anything to you or not mean, whether it doesn't mean anything to you. They have no care or appreciation for the individual that is the human being. They just want to squish you into one thing. You're not allowed to be other. You can only be one thing, which they agree with. And that's very disturbing. No individuality allowed. Just be a slave to the society, which is fundamentally an illusion. Like right now, I can't find my fucking bag. Somebody might have stolen that shit while I wasn't here, which is kinda... Why would you fucking steal it? Why would you steal one fucking bag? There's nothing important in it except for my fucking headset. And I legit don't know where the fuck it is. Somebody might have actually stolen that shit. And I was away. Oh no, it's right here. Okay. I'm a little bit paranoid. Hold on. Let me just move that shit. Let me just move that shit a little. You know, just put it on. But you know, one time I was on the train and I left my fucking phone on the seat for like 10 seconds. When I got off the train, immediately I realized it was not there. So I run back and voila, it's no longer there. One of the guys who, I don't know who was were walking behind me, they booted that shit. And there were like 5 people. 5. So basically you have a 20% chance of, according to my ex, you have a 20% chance of having your shit stolen. Right? What if your entire life is in it? They just stole that shit, like who cares? Like, you know, we're living in a world full of wild animals. The intelligent, sophisticated, and sensitive people like me and you, I guess, I guess for both, have to live with fucking animals, people who are just so much worse than us, and there's nowhere we can run unless we have $4 million and we can buy a mansion, you know, in a gated neighborhood or something, private schools, private hospitals. We don't have that kind of luxury, which only usually the psychopaths have, right? The sociopathic, psychopathic lunatics. People who are just not that sensitive can, you know, break the bank, whatever. They're the ones who have it. They're the ones who probably deserve it the least, in the sense of being a good person, you know. But they're the ones who get the stuff. But anyway, if you have ADHD, well, fuck you. You just drug you, tell you to shut the fuck up. You know, they produce these fucking systems. Like, for me, when I was in school, we had black dots and red dots. And for when you tallied up 5, when you acquired 5 of each, then you either got punished or rewarded. 5 red dots meant that you got rewarded. 5 black dots meant that you got punished. You know, if you accumulated that many. And it's just so weird that people, I always thought it's so weird that people actually agree with this shit, the way this stuff works. You know, when I was in, and this was in like, you know, grade school, like first few grades, they had like a list on the wall. And the list was a ranking of all the children by academic performance. And, you know, I was always near the last. I was never a good student. Partly because I just didn't give a fuck, and probably because of my learning disability and disability in general. Just couldn't concentrate, couldn't give a fuck. Which I don't regret, really. And I just start thinking back on it, like, how the fuck do you people think this is acceptable? Make a list, a ranking of children, like they have to look 7, 8 years old, they have to look at how sucky they are. It's just so weird. Like, it's so weird to me. Society is so weird to me. And that's the thing, if you say that sort of stuff, oh, you're just babbling, you know, they would just want to take away my right to say this, in the sense that they would just write me off as a lunatic, a nutcase. Oh, okay, so I get it. You say all that shit. You say all this shit. So what's your disability? What's your shit? Ah, you're autistic. You've learned. Oh, so that's why. You know, they're pulling ad hominem on you. It can't possibly be that you're right. They never say, you know what? You're right. I think you're right. It's not that there's something wrong with you. No. Society itself is a pile of fucking turd shit. No. Not allowed to say that fact. You always have to pretend it's great and lick its ass. And of course you can do things in society. You're not completely powerless, but we're living in an age where we're very alienated, and we're not really doing much of anything. And but I think on a fundamental level, my pessimism goes deeper. I would say my pessimism says it's always bad. Society is always bad. It's always a system that crushes you, crushes your spirits by the time you're young. You're told how to behave. And you know, what pisses me off about this sort of thing is that I didn't grow up in a very rich household. And what pisses me the fuck off about that is how good behavior is like conflated with being poor, you know. Like, oh, why did you waste some of the food? Why did you, I don't know, screw up your shoes or something? It's not like the moral of the story is that you shouldn't, you know, that you shouldn't waste stuff. The moral of the story is always, you're too poor, you can't afford to fuck around like that. You know, and that just pissed me off, like how it was being advertised as a moral. Like there's a moral to this story, when the real moral to the story was, don't be poor, be rich. And if only you were rich, you wouldn't have to bother saving shit. You could spend as much money as you like. I deposited my bag there. Hopefully no one can see it. That's the real moral of the story. You know. And it just pisses me off, like the movie Parasite, how, you know, I was talking about this beautiful scene where, you know, there was a flood and people are, you know, fighting for clothes. They're jumping at each other's throat to get dry clothes at the gym. And then it cuts to this rich lady who is with her handler, is buying clothes, new dry clothes, and that's society. That's the moral of the story, is that you shouldn't be poor, you should be rich. The moral of the story is not you should be economical. The moral of the story is that you should be economically successful. Like, have you ever noticed that? How you're being taught this story, like, be a good little boy. And pretty much all it amounts to is be a good little boy so that you won't starve, so that you can take care of other poor people. But of course the rich people get taught lessons too. It's only that for them the lessons are not existential. For them the lessons are just they're just bourgeois lessons. They're just for appearance's sake. So I just don't get why you would why you would think it's a good idea to have society, to support society, to make more kids, essentially, and support this idea that we should keep it going. Keep it going for what? So that you can have more inequality? So that you can have more people who are thrown to the sidelines? And the rich can thrive even richer? And, just such a pile of fucking crap. And given how, what's one thing that's really disappointing is how stupid people actually are, right? That's not news, but when you actually think about how you used to think like adults were geniuses, and then you grow up and you sort of find out, yeah, they know a thing or two, but they're pretty fucking stupid. Nobody really has the answers. Nobody can just tell you what the answers are. Nobody can tell you what the situation really is. All they can give you is stories about what the situation really is. And many of them have this confidence that they really know what the situation is. They comprehend it perfectly because they can read the books and they can put numbers on it and they can put names on it. It's really strange. How can you be so sure of yourself about what life is and why you have the right to make more of it and make the new life be like you? Where do you get this confidence from, baby? People are so strange. They really think they know everything, they can figure out everything. They can't even figure out basic stuff. They hardly even know how to tie their shoes. And they're not, like so dumb people are leading the countries that we live in. People that are probably dumber than many of you. What a joke. What a fucking joke. I recently read this manga called Fire Punch, and I really like that manga. It taught me some important things, like how it mentioned how in Hinduism the reason why it's apparently the reason why it's wrong to eat cows is because they used to carry a disease. So that's why it's wrong to eat them. And in Judaism it was Men were not allowed to cut their beards because you cut your beard, you cut into your skin, you could have had a bad infection, and that's why it was forbidden. And it's the story emphasizes how religion is a social construction. And my point is not to berate religion. I'm not particularly interested in that. It's just that that's how society functions in general. But I think the high point of religion, like Christianity, is this idea that you can be like Jesus. You should follow the ways of Jesus. You should become Jesus-like. And religion does everything in its power to make you not be like Jesus. It makes you cowardly and dependent. Whether you're a Catholic or a Protestant, you have to submit to the church, or you have to submit to your inner desires, your inner guilt. Look inwards. But when you look inwards, all you find is more of the outside. When you look inwards, all you get is just a projection of what the data you get from the outside. And so it's not really you. But as long as you're in society, you cannot produce anything new. All you can do is produce the same. There's no newness in it. So when they try to make you feel guilty, so with society is very Protestant in the sense that it always makes you feel guilty for what you do and don't do and think. That's modern ideology, basically. What you should be guilty about, and you waste some food and suddenly it's your fault that the world is hungry. This climate change, it's your fault now. Have you had companies press you about it? Like, why do you use paper? Can we get an explanation for why you don't want to switch to electric? They really try to make you feel guilty, like it's your fucking fault. And those motherfuckers probably, they themselves contribute to climate change much more than all of us, the customers, do. They're the ones who make use of all the electricity which is not renewable, and then they pass the judgment up onto us. McDonald's or whatever, they make all that meat and then they're like, oh, but here's a renewable bag. Why don't you take the renewable bag, you fucking criminal? Just a big pile of fucking crap. Society. Such a pile of fucking crap. And on a more personal level, just so painful, Because in Fire Punch you have the protagonist is this guy who is constantly on fire. He's constantly burning. His name is Agni, which means god of fire, I think in Hinduism or something. So it's very religious, but the guy is always burning, and I like that because that's the same quote that I quoted before from Bukowski, where he says, there is no easiness anywhere. Everything is always burning, scratching at you, scraping at you. You try to take you eat a can of soup, can of tuna, or open a mustard cap on a mustard thing, and you know, you just keep burning anyway. You never have any easiness. Everything is always scratching, burning at you, no matter what you do or don't do. So it very nicely comes together, and I think Mika Stetter explains that pretty well. Everything is always burning, scratching, incomplete. It's always incomplete. There's always more to want and need. So it's incomplete. You never really finish, you never really go anywhere. Because there's nowhere to go. Where are you gonna go? You have to find something to do. But at the end of the day, it's just an escape from what is, right? That's why I have no personal ideology which I hold dear and fixed. You know, like there's some ideology that explains everything, that gives me the answers. Well, I know it can, because every ideology can only be a coping mechanism to the world, right? It tries to cope with the world by trying to explain it away, and in that sense, it always fails, because it can't face the world head on. It has to give it names, and you have to give it numbers, and you know, it has to build a theory around why this is this and why that is that, what is good and what is bad and what is what. But the real world is just a bunch of shit. It's just a bunch of indeterminate data just flowing. Like, you know, that a tree is only a tree because we said so. Like, it's not like really a tree. It's just as much part of nature as anything else. But we call it a tree because it's easy. It's easy to demarcate it from the other things. But it should be obvious that we see the world through our own perception. Like for an ant, there's no such thing as a tree. For the ant, whatever information it has is different from ours. That should be perfectly obvious, I think. Everybody is out. You know, like in evolution, you have this, you know, quote that is creed of evolution, that the strongest wins or something like that, you know. Survival of the fittest. And they tried to copy it away. No, it's not what we meant. It's not what they meant when they said it. You know, the guy before Darwin who said that, I think. No, that's not what it means. It's actually, you know, cooperation. Yeah, cooperation, which is born out of a need for adaptation. To try and adapt to this endless contingency we call the world. You know, you're only out for yourself. Like in one of my earlier videos, I made this argument that, you know, if you care about others, then you're somehow not selfish. That's the postulation. And it's like, well, if you care about others, it's only because you see themselves as part of the same group that you're in, right? If you expand the circle of care around you, it's only because you're in it. You're in the middle of it. It always comes from you. It's you know, that guy is like me, so I care about him now. But you're not. I don't think you can't be not selfish. Can't be not selfish. You just want what everybody else has. You're always jealous and needy. And there are all kinds of ways to cope about it. Oh, we're just a community. We're just we're lovey-dovey. But when you look at deeply what a community is, have you ever seen a community that's not, you know, based on some kind of jealousy or hypocrisy or abuse? You know, some kind of selfishness, some kind of need to dominate the other. I never been to a group where I felt it was truly unselfish and authentic. Maybe little children, but nobody else. Nobody else is capable of being really unselfish, of being completely authentic about what they want. Because the little child might just be curious. But the older you grow, the more you just like, I need that, I need this for me, I need that for that. It just gets worse and worse. You just want more and more and more. You know? You have a girlfriend or a boyfriend or something, and why do you have them? Well, because you need them. You can't live without them, as they say. You know that? I can't live without you. And that's supposed to be a good thing. I'm so dependent on you. I throw myself off the balcony if you're not with me. Well, gee, what an idiot. Or a fool. What, are you stupid? Family is just such shit too. If it's nice, then it's nice, but frankly, it's such a pain in the ass that you have to deal with for many people. Putting together a bunch of people who hardly even know each other. The fuck is the point? You know, the extended family crap, I hate that shit. Stupid. There's no point to it at all. They would not hesitate to leave you in the ditch. 85% of them at least. You would have to be a very close-knit family for it not to be the case, but then again you would just be creepily dependent on each other. So no matter what the situation is, its dependence is always bad. You should be independent. But society does exactly the opposite. It makes you dependent on its shit. It gives you a vocabulary. I just imagine the amount of shit that's in your head because you speak a language. You don't just speak the language, you speak the culture. All that shit they feed to your head. What it means to be a person in the world. And it's just such a contingent thing. It's not, you don't see the world. You see one little chunk of the world. And you blow it up and you think it's supremely important and the only way to live life. That's why you have people who don't like gay people, let's say. There's a little arcane nowadays in the West, but I guess it's still there pretty heavily. Where, you know, I can't imagine somebody else living their life a little differently than I do. So fuck them. You know. I know that the only way to have sex is by putting a dick into a vagina, and there's no other way to do it at all, even though there is plenty of other ways to do it. And you have every reason and right to do it. Why wouldn't you? You know, this idea that you should just be a baby making machine is pretty an old stupid idea. But it's still there. And I guess one problem with the whole immigration thing is a lot of Muslims will want to import this kind of bullshit. So I think if Western countries want to do good by their LGBT community, they want to crack down pretty heavily on this sort of thing. You're not allowed to discriminate. You're not allowed to throw your shit on us. It's, you know, only one type of sex is acceptable. No, says you, asshole. That's your delusion. That's your perversion. It's just something that you came up with. That's your rule. It's your little delusion. But the truth is, you can do anything in the world that the world allows you to do. We just impose the rules. You know, like Spinoza said, that if the world was run by triangles. They would say that God is triangular, and the squares and everybody else, you know, the other polygons are, you know, hexagons or whatever, are stupid and ugly. You really think you're special. I mean, human beings, you have to admit, they're sort of special in some sense. They're really intelligent, well, relatively speaking. But it's that much more sad how much they fucked up the world. How little, in terms of a impressive, meaningful contribution they made to the world. They made a bunch of skyscrapers and formerly pyramids. And it's like, okay, it's, I'm not saying it's not impressive, but I just don't give a shit, you know? I'm not really floored by their accomplishment personally. I don't see why you would be. What's the point? But this futility. It's the futility argument that nobody can defeat. You know, listen to these guys talk about why life should exist, why life is meaningful anyhow. Christian conservatives and so on. What answers do they have? Nothing. They're just like, well, it's the meaning of life. The meaning of life is to have meaning in life. What is meaning? Well, it's the meaning. It's the purpose of your meaning of the purpose. You know, all that poetry from what? To discriminate against LGBT people? They just have a hard-on for that, maybe. Just like dominating people. Because, you know, like, what's the point of this? Just such a stupid worldview, you know, because why do you want to keep society going just so you can, like, make everything really hard for people? For no good reason, you know? No, you know, provisions for people. No LGBT equality, no. You know, just go to work and shut your mouth. It's like, well, if that's gonna be your grand adventure, then why not cancel it? It's no wonder that people want to get the fuck out of this planet. They don't want to have kids anymore. Young people, because all the answers they get from these serious people, conservatives and people around the world, even liberals, are just silly. It's like, you need to keep existing so that you can feed the machine. Feed the machine more grease. Please feed the machine more grease. It needs more grease right now. So please, would you feed the machine with more grease? It's very important that you do that. If you don't feed the machine, they will not machine anymore. So therefore, feed the machine. Objective moralities and so on. What is moral? Well, moral is whatever is good. Why is it good? Well, because it's moral. You can do the same thing with anything. It's the same crap. You always end up with this incompleteness. That I think is the fundamental product of somebody like Gödel. That's what he showed us, I think, when he wrote that incompleteness crap, that, you know, there's always a proposition that can neither be proven nor disproven. But I think that's pretty obvious to me. Because when you look at what the system basically is, it's just a closed thing. You know, once it's complete, it doesn't have any other way of justifying itself except to reach back to its own premises. And in that sense, it's always incomplete. So I personally don't believe in any objectivity. And even if I did, I just don't see what the point of it would be. Okay, so you have an objective morality. You have objective, what is objectively correct and not correct, and true and not true. It doesn't really explain the why of things, which philosophy is concerned with. Why does it exist nonetheless? Why is it objective? Why does it have to be that way? Well, because it's that way. That's just, you sort of run out of explanations. So I've come to the conclusion, which is sort of satisfying in a paradoxical way, but I come to the conclusion that you can't really present a satisfying explanation for why things are what they are. So even if you have a theory of completeness, it's kind of shit, because it doesn't explain why the completeness is justified. That somehow the truth is somehow fundamentally also correct. That if things fall down to the ground because of gravity, then you sort of have to submit to its authority and say, well, that's just how things are. And but it can't explain why that stupid fucking system is the way it is. It's a pretty stupid system, life. The way that it needs incompleteness to exist. It can't explain itself. You know what I mean? That's pretty annoying. Pretty annoying what life is. Gods or no gods, I really don't give a shit. It's annoying that it's incomplete. It's annoying that it can't justify itself. Even if there's a God and he says what is right and what is wrong, so what? It says you. I mean, you say it's right because you made the world, but why should I accept that as an explanation? Like, what if I'm not satisfied with your answer? Well, then you go to hell, I guess. Why do I go to hell? Well, because you're wrong. Why am I wrong? Well, because I made you wrong. What a pile of shit. My God. I think religiosity is a beautiful thing, but it's twisted into shit. They think religiosity is just dominance of a church over you, dominance of a God over you. Look, just read Persuasion and Rhetoric by Mika Stetter. Persuasion and Rhetoric. He has the unfortunate thing of the title of his book is difficult for me to pronounce, and so is his name. But I think it's very profound. Persuasion and Rhetoric. The two items of Greek thought, basically. Persuasion and the Rhetoric. Just read that. By Carlo Mika Stetter. And also read Dazai and Bukowski. Those are good too. There are some good poets and philosophers and so on, but they always say the same things. So like, if you're worried about not reading enough books, don't be. I've done a fair amount of research and thinking, and on a fundamental level I haven't got smarter. I feel like the same shit is just being said over and over again. Once you discover the fundamental truth, it's over. And I think the fundamental truth is contingency. I have not been able to find anything else. It's not a very convincing explanation of anything, really. But I think it's contingency all the way. There's just nothing there. Nothing to look for. No completion, I said before that you can't depart the path that goes on forever. Which is a statement even I don't understand fully, but it's just it's just the way that life feels. There's no completion to it. There's no stop for you. to depart, where you say, okay, it's done, it's over. It just goes on and on and on. Whether you're experiencing it, feeling it, is totally irrelevant to the function. You're not relevant to it. It just exists in whatever kind of way it does. I don't know. But I feel that it's an infinite world of contingency. And if it have to be, it can be actually infinite, but it would be approaching infinity, right? Approaching infinity, but never quite reaching it. Otherwise, it would be complete. There's no completion there. It's kind of a weird shit. And you know, Christianity has been kind of turned into a joke. These fucking right-wingers are using it for their own malevolent ends. They turn it into a kind of cultural Christianity. But the liberals don't have the answers either. I mean, what's the answer? Oh, just legalize weed, bro. Just fuck as many people as you like. You know, this endless openness, this endless niceness of the liberal doesn't have either, frankly. They don't have the answers. None of them have the answers. But in my opinion, the lefties don't have the answers either. So what's the answer? Oh, just build unions, bro. Which is fine, but what the fuck do I care about unions? If the world is still what it is. It's still a pile of crap. Doesn't do me much good. It's nice, but I'm not really satisfied with it. So like, you know, what's your answer? What's your solution? Where do you go? What do you do? Just get blowjobs or something? I don't care. I'm just saying, it's all very crap. I want to get somewhere with this, but I can't go anywhere. I think it just sucks. Well, is there anything else? How else can we shit on people? People just kind of suck. People just kind of suck. You can make anything out of people. Maybe this is interesting, that history is really just cyclical, right? That 10 years ago the US was more liberal than it is now. There is no necessity for barreling forward. It can barrel backwards just as much as it barrels forward. The world sucks because people suck. Essentially, they just suck. People are boring fucking it. Either if they're nice, they're just very boring. They don't have much of a backbone if they're nice. If they're not nice, they're rude or cruel. You know, there's no such thing as the perfect person. There's no such thing as the guy who has figured everything out and can give you all the answers. When you watch different YouTubers or whatever, all you get is a different perspective. All you get is a different part of the same eye. I mean, an eye, like an eye, an ocular thing. Looking at the world and seeing different parts of it. That's why you're never satisfied when you know, mess around YouTube. You can walk around YouTube, left, right, and center, trying to find some place to land. But all you end up doing is seeking out a different kind of person because you never find the one. It's another Bukowski poem. Nobody ever finds the one. The city dumps fill, the junkyards fill, the madhouses fill, the hospitals fill, the graveyards fill, nothing else fills. Yeah. And as I said, what it amounts to is that those who don't get put into this asylum are sane and those who do are insane. And Mikkelstetter said, surely when the first 3 men formed the group, the first 2 called the third one crazy from time to time. Endless contingency of things. And if you want to look for science for answers, oh good golly. You know, if science gave you the answers, you wouldn't need the answers, as it were. If the answers were there, you could just grasp it, right? But you need science precisely because you don't have the answer. You have the answers, explanations, because you don't really grasp the word as it is because it doesn't exist as it is. Or if it does exist as it is, then you can grasp it. I lean towards a kind of idealism, I think, but it's a strange thing. I don't really understand it. So what else? What else? Oh, I like AOT. I like Shingeki no Kyojin. You know, where Eren says, or his mother says, well, he's a special boy because he was born into this world. I like that because people will tell you, you ever watch this fucking anime like Mob Psycho? You know what pisses me off about that stuff is that humility is supposed to be a good thing there. That when the evil guy is no longer evil, what he does is he gets a job at a corner store. And just pisses me off like when the moral of the story is just get a fucking job, loser, and then you'll be a good boy. This idea that the villains are not, the villains can never be right about anything. They're not right, There's something wrong with them. That theme annoys me. I mean, from what I remember from Mob Psycho, there was a villain who was portrayed as more or less correct. But I don't remember too much. But the usual idea is that if you're the bad guy, you're wrong. And the good thing to do, you become a good guy when you bend the knee to society and do what society says, and that's right. You're rehabilitated, and that's supposed to be a good thing. Well, I hate that shit. Why should it be a good thing if I think it's bad? But I think a criminal is just somebody who disagrees with society. That's what I think a criminal is. That's my definition of a criminal. Criminal is somebody who disagrees with society. You will never see a guy hanging because he did something society agreed with. You will see him hang if he did something they disagree with. Yeah. If anything, it's good to break society because the rules of society because when you do what society says, you just keep turning the wheel of society, right? So the other guy has to suffer for it too. I have to go to work, so to speak, because the other guy does too. Because neither of them have the courage to say no. Say, yeah, I'm not doing that shit. I'm not going to work, asshole. They don't have the courage to do that. I've been reading Max Stirner, but he's supposed to be very radical, but everything he says seems obvious to me, more or less. Basically says that society is very bourgeois. Liberal society is very bourgeois, in that it doesn't look at the individual as an individual. It looks at him as a concept, as part of a whole, right? Which is exactly what I think. The bourgeois liberal society, or any society really, presses this idea of the law, the norm, the good into the individual, so that in society lives the individual. In the individual lives society. Not, it's not I live, it's society lives in me, what he says. Which is true. That's basically the crux of my previous videos. Which, if you want to watch my previous videos, the previous one ended up being shitty because of the audio. But that one is pretty full of substance. So I think I still recommend it. But the couple videos before that are probably better. Like the one I made about, which was all about technology. I don't remember what the name of it was. Yeah, but I made a couple of videos before the previous one, which I think are pretty good. Full of substance, really. Yeah. One I made about No Longer Human is good. Bearish on the Human Race is pretty good. One after that is pretty good. There's some pretty good ones. First few ones are not so good. The previous one, the audio sucks. But, if you enjoy this type of content or this sort of opinion, I think you might find a lot of substance in the previous videos I made. So maybe check them out, and I don't know what else. We'll figure something out later. But there's no point in making this too long because nobody will watch it. So, yeah, you can, if you're here, you can vent in the comments. You can do whatever you like. Yeah, bye.